We have already one question in the audience, and then another one. Yes, please.
My name is Nazi Hamdi. I'm from Jordan, from the University of Jordan.
Thank you.
My question is about the Montessori method. It's very useful, but is it affordable for the poor? I have another question also. It's very useful to learn through play and games, but would that enable you to do the GRE, for example, in the future, to get admitted to college, to receive degrees? Thank you.
Thank you very much for these questions. So the first one is probably for you, Ayla. We discussed it already, the fact that not only we represent a small part of the world here on the stage, but also what can we say about the social dimensions of what we are actually doing as far as Montessori is concerned? That's the first question.
Well, as a matter of fact, people often think it's something for just rich countries and rich environments. But I have studied the Tibetan children villages where Montessori has been applied since the 1960s. Very early, and they make all their materials, all their environment on their own, and so it is possible. Even I know that in some African countries, Kenya, they are working with the Montessori concept, and even there they are doing everything which is needed. They are preparing it when they are trained as teachers. So I think yes, it's possible.
And the second question was more for you, Soren, I think.
Yeah, I guess I can comment on that. Yeah, I actually believe so. I mean, there are several reasons why these kinds of environments can fully be. I mean, first of all, as you see, I'm trying to cover the entire curriculum. In the States, there's this thing called Common Core. People have actually identified this. The set of concepts, there's about 150 of them, that one requires to finish high school, for example. What I'm planning to do is actually develop at least 4 games around each one of those concepts so that you can measure the transfer of all of those things. And the studies, we already have at 10,000 kids, a study where some group of kids are playing the game, some are not playing the game. They have a pre and post test on the actual, basically it's a true test that they would be giving in school, and we're actually measuring exactly what's the near, mid, and long-term transfer, transfer is really basically the ability to use what you've learned and apply it to a whole bunch of different things. It turns out test is one of those things you can apply it to, but really the more important thing is, can you apply it to life? Right? And so this is where I think it's even more important, because you can have people get a high school diploma but still don't understand the key concepts that they really need to do college. In fact, in the States, there's a set of community colleges that all they do in first 2 years is remediation. They need to figure out all the things that people have missed in a previous education in order for them to continue on. And basically the studies show you cannot start without actually removing all these misconceptions earlier. And so in many ways, there's something even more fundamental than just passing the exams. It's really, truly understanding this such that you can be able to take on challenges in college and onwards. In addition, of course, do you really feel like you're a scientist? Can that feeling really be somehow generated through your self-identification with the set of problems you're solving? And I think that kind of incentive structure is capable of doing that when your environment and everything else around you tells you, no, you're not good enough. No, you cannot do that.
Thank you very much, Zoran. Just very quickly, can you answer a question from the internet we have here? Don't you think games should focus on the social aspect and playing with peers?
Yeah. Well, should I answer that now, or okay?
Please do very quickly.
So everything that we certainly design is that. I mean, it's first of all, some of these games that you've just seen, the older kids have the ability to generate levels that younger kids are then solving, and they're evaluated based on how useful their levels are for the ability for younger kids to understand the concept. So there's basically, even after they understand all these concepts, they're actually invited to participate into active development of the games further, such that they're pulled more into sort of this social development on not just themselves, but the whole community of younger kids that are about to pass through the same process themselves.
Thank you very much. So we have 4 more questions now, 5. The lady in black and white there, please. And then after, the 2 gentlemen behind in blue and black. Yes, please, can you please stand up and introduce yourself before?
My name is Dalia Sliman. I'm the president of the Egyptian Autistic Society. I'm very excited about what you're doing because a few months ago we got donated a bunch of iPads, and within 2 weeks I managed to teach the autistic children things I haven't been able to teach them in maybe 2 years, just because they're such visual learners, and doing it through game and not through communicating with me, which is very difficult with them, was very, very easy for them. And some of these children are being mainstreamed into regular schools. So we end up taking the curriculums of the mainstream schools and changing them into visual material and pictures. But now that I think about it, if we do it in games, it would work miraculously. So are you thinking of developing something for special needs or for autistic children in particular?
Trying to apply this thing. I mean, I really would like to. The nice thing about the games and a mobile device that now in Africa, a smartphone can be under $35, I just heard. I think 2 years from now, it'll be a lot less still, is that no matter what kind of education you might have, accessibility is there. Certainly the autistic kids are some of the best game players in the world. I don't know if you know that, but somehow they're capable of doing stuff that that sort of ordinary people certainly are not able to do. So of course it seems like a very natural challenge for them. I would love to do sort of potential studies, and you should talk to me afterwards about potential trials that we can do.
One thing I wanted to mention is the first day I gave these iPads to the children and the teachers sat there going, "Where's the start button?" While the kids just like figured out the game and went as if they've had it all their lives. So you're right.
Yeah. Digital generation, probably. Then we have the gentleman in blue. We just mentioned Africa. I suppose you come from here, so would you please stand up and introduce yourself?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Isiake Oloyede, I'm Vice Chancellor, University of Ilorin in Nigeria. As good as play method is, I think we have to define at what stage of the education ladder we have to stop it. Life itself is not about play. Life is much more difficult than playing. And are we not going to give the impression to the students that you can get on well in life by playing all your life? And for that reason, I believe that the play method should be for those who need the play method. There are some who will find the play method very uninteresting and in fact very unrealistic. I believe that we should not just generalize, because some of the students you'll find out that there might be few who will need this pampering play method to get the message to them, but there are some who will find it will be more appropriate for them to go directly to real life. And lastly, I also believe that some of these methods can be applied only in the lower schools, lower levels of education, rather than at the higher level, because we might, in the process of playing, lose the real work. Thank you.
Okay, who wants to go for it? Please, a quick answer and quick questions, because we have only 10 minutes left, I was told. So, and then we still have 5 or 6 questions to go. Soren, be quick or be dead.
I will. All right, I'll try not to be dead. I think you raise an interesting question. I think that it's true that in many different places you don't actually need an incentive structure. People feel that school itself is a privilege and it's an exciting thing. The games themselves don't necessarily mean it's all frivolous. You don't need to actually work. In fact, I'm working on a game now that trains tenacity. It doesn't teach you a concept. It teaches you that if you persist and you work on something for a very long time, the results would come. And in many ways, that's something that if you can empower that into younger children, that can be more powerful than any individual fraction or whatever you want to teach. But how do you do that? What if your parents cannot instill that into you? What if your situation is such that you don't actually have the circumstances that allow you to do that? This kind of virtual world perhaps provides another alternative for these kinds of lessons that might appear frivolous, but they really have deep implications. The other thing I would say is that Folded is all about adults who never had any background in this thing playing and advancing the space of science. So I would certainly not agree with you that it's only about for kids.
Thank you, Zoran. A question for you, Ayla, from the internet. Do you happen to have some statistical evidence of the effectiveness of Montessori method in early development learning compared to other methods? And if yes, can you make that available in a way or another? Again, in 30 seconds.
Well, there has been a study done by an American lady, and her name is Angelina Lillett, and she did an empirical study and published it under the title Montessori, the Science Behind the Genius. So you're welcome to look at that.
Thank you very much. So, gentleman here. Yes,
my name is Hilmi Qureshi. I am from India, and I come from a company called ZMQ. I have a question for Dr. Popovich. What do you think what can be the role of game-based playing to solve critical challenges like reducing illiteracy or like solving the problems and leading to behavior change, inculcating scientific thinking, especially in the underprivileged masses, and that too through the mobile phones?
Persistence and tenacity games that we're trying to develop. We're also looking at language and creativity. This is one thing that we're particularly interested in. Just how can everybody not just believe that they could be creative, but actually what are the mechanisms that creativity can actually be fostered through gameplay? This is another aspect that we're working on. And in many ways, those are all about how can you empower kids or adults to see through this virtual world of what they're capable of and how plastic their mind is towards ability to expand beyond. So we're working on a lot of that stuff, and my focus really is that games can access those that just have a phone. Everybody with a phone should get state-of-the-art education that customized just for them. That's basically what I'm working on. Yeah.
Thank you. We have 4 more questions. Lady there, the gentleman, the lady here, and the gentleman here, and 5 minutes for everything. So please shoot.
I'll go really quickly.
Thank you.
You know, sir, you lost me when you did that chart. The second flow chart about not having knowledge. They became an expert and then they went to learn. I don't understand how you can become an expert and then search for knowledge. Can you just tell us what you mean by that?
Yeah, I think I know what you mean. The idea is that before you give them any processed knowledge, give them the incentive to start to wonder why and how.
So what do they become expert at?
So in Folded, they became experts in biochemistry on particular structure prediction problems. So
and then they go and learn more.
That actually happens, yeah.
Yes.
They create a huge number of Wikipedia pages. They even have their own language of biochemistry that's different from biochemists that they have to then map afterwards.
Okay, that's brilliant. I think what you're doing is brilliant. My second question is, very quickly, you know when you taught the kids the fractions in the game, did you actually do the next piece to see whether they could apply it to the real world?
Yeah, we're doing all those tests now. So basically, there's...
No, I know. No, I don't mean giving them another game. I mean, from that game, when they learn that, you said they get the concept of... Can they go and in the real world, do they have it?
Yeah, we don't have the actual data, but
you don't have it.
The data is now going to be collected over. We're doing a study with Disney and Sesame Street, who are both going to distribute this thing on millions of kids, and then we're going to have schools and teachers. In fact, I'm interested in hearing anybody who has a school system that is willing to help us out in actually doing those studies. But that's still out. The question is still out.
Okay, we're waiting for the results with impatience. The gentleman here and then the lady here. Thank you. 3 minutes to go.
Yes, first, thank you very much. It was very interesting. And my question is, have you got any special ways of measuring the success of not younger children in the kindergarten? I don't think it is very necessary in Montessori system and anywhere. And when they are in secondary school, is it possible, do you have some special, not trivial methods of measuring their success?
I think often when they finish Montessori school, because many children finish after elementary and then they go on to traditional types of school, and they manage very well because they have learned very important things. They have learned how to plan their work, how to carry it out, how to finish. So.
Well, excuse me, that was not the question. I understand that Montessori system is brilliant and it is developing as well as any games. I just wanted to say there are standards, even not very strict standards. Even if I'm a parent and the parent gives a child to somewhere, he wants to know how far has he gone in the staircase of success. And I know there are a lot of tests in trivial education, and I am a director of a school and I know all this, and I want to make Montessori and game system not an extra curriculum thing, and I want to put it into the curriculum, and I don't know the methods of measuring this standard. Did the child get this standard or didn't he? Is he successful or isn't he? Because it's a brilliant idea that a student must be a subject of education, and he's going by himself and he is not tortured and he is not pushed and pressed. But I'm a social representative and I want to know whether he's successful or not. Are there any special methods, but for tests, exams, and so on?
Well, I think I have to intervene here, if you allow me. This requires a complete debate, because the question you're asking is whether a specific approach to teaching and learning can actually fit with standardized tests that are imposed from elsewhere. And that's a completely different question in my view. We don't have time to discuss that now. Sorry for this, but I understand your point. But now we have two last questions. The lady with the silver scarf here, yes, please. And the gentleman here. There are two last questions, if we allow 2 more minutes to finish this. Is that all right? Thank you, boss.
I am Adla Sabri, and I am running a school for learning difficulty students and students with slow learning. I want to ask about the Montessori. Is there any... do you think it is proper for teaching the disabled children, and if they accept disabled children in their system? Another question for the other gentleman, it is about the autistic children have the barrier of making communication with other people, so they are socially behavior disordered, and using the computer and games with no interaction will deepen their disability in communication. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Who starts?
So many Montessori schools accept children with disabilities, yes. And then if they are if they have severe problems, there are institutions which train Montessori therapists who can take up the work with these children. There is a center for that, for example, in Munich, which is excellent, and you might try to get into contact there.
I would say that, yeah, I think you're right. I mean, it could be potentially that sort of virtual worlds do not actually develop the specific things that they're, the social interaction aspects that they're common to all the autistic kids. However, it could be empowering them in the sense that it enables them to do stuff that is hindered through the lack of social interaction. So it could be sort of giving them the ability and the sense of knowing that they're actually capable of doing all these things. And then through that ability, perhaps they could be developing other social aspects of it.
Thank you. And the last question from the gentleman in the second row. Yeah.
My name is Mohamed Abad Andalusi. I am a founder of an association called Partnership School Businesses. It is very easy, I think, to create workshop in schools for learning by games, starting by elementary school. My question is, how to implement this project? Do you have a kit with the requirement, with the equipment needed, and a guide for educators how to coach students in this workshop?
We are developing that. Starting next spring, we'll be actually pushing it through classrooms, and we'll have actually specific. What we like to do is figure out what are the different ways in which teachers can use them. So you can use them in a classroom. You can basically say, here's a whole bunch of things I want kids to learn, and then basically a teacher can say, I'm going to go from one node to another and help individual kids. They could just say, I'm going to teach the normal way and give the homeworks in this particular way. Or I can just basically completely let them play by themselves, or I can have them play about the concepts before I teach. And there are studies that show if they're actually inspired to learn about the topic without knowing anything about it first, then they have almost 80% more uptake on the lecture themselves. It's called preparation for future learning. It's sort of a new concept. So there are many modalities to use this. What we're studying now is, and in fact, I want to talk to inspired teachers who will tell me what are the best modalities of using it.
Well, thank you very much, Zoran and Ella, again. One day, I think Albert Einstein said, it is a miracle that the natural human curiosity survives schooling. If we manage, after this discussion, which is only a start on learning through playing, to make sure that our children and our adults alike won't lose their natural curiosity completely and discover the joy of learning, the joy of understanding, the joy of memorizing and creating connections, then we won't have lost our time. I would like to thank you all very much for your participation, and Ella and Zoran. Learning through play, let's play. Thank you. Shukran awi.